Notice of the meeting was published as required. We have Supervisor Nelson, Supervisor Kurtz in the room. That is a quorum. It's appropriate to move forward with today's agenda and meeting. Just a quick announcement, if you have a comment card, please drop it off up here for public comment. Under additions or deletions to today's agenda, staff has requested adding a discussion of the November meeting date. That's the only addition that staff has. Are there any additions or deletions from supervisors or other staff?
Anything on the agenda you want to add?
No, I put it on the minutes.
Okay. Thank you. So that item will be added under new business, and that'll be number 4.
I have a little hard time hearing.
That item will be under. Give us a sec. We'll turn up the volume.
Thank you.
If Jed was up here, you'd hear just fine. Test, test, test. Test, test, test.
Is it on?
I think you went down.
Turn mine off. There you go.
Test, test.
Test, test.
Yeah. Test, test. All right, we're in the draft approval of the draft August 5th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I wanted to add to Garrett Miller was in attendance. He's named.
What's your hand over the mic?
He's not here.
I understand we need to add Garrett Miller as attendee for Carter Associates for minutes. With those minutes edited, I would ask for a motion to approve those edited minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we move into first item under old business. This is titled Discussion Regarding May 11, 2017 Annual Meeting Minutes. Supervisor Kurtz, I understand you want to bring this item forward.
That's correct. I know that there's a lot of distrust in the room and us against them kind of thing. I'll remind you, I wasn't here in November of last year. I lived here, but I wasn't on the board. But a lot of discussion has gone on in meetings that I've been, since I've been on the board. And I think a very important thing that I was talking with Frank to research some of the past history that I thought was very relevant. And going back to the May 11th, 2017 board meeting, which is in the information that's on the web, and if you printed it off, you have it. I'm not going to go through it, so I'm going to highlight it. But that was the date that the allocation was changed between being an equal allocation in west versus east because of some changes in the district. And I think it's important that you review those and highlight them. But I've been here 10 years. I wasn't aware of some of these facts, and I thought maybe you weren't either. But there's been 4 major sales of land and right-of-way out of the district to St. John. And those 4 sales amounted to $2,045,950 worth of proceeds to the district. And those have been sitting in the funds of the district over that period of time. And those funds were used to subsidize the district assessment of $10 per acre. As interest rates climb from when you got something for your money to you got nothing for your money, those monies started to deplete. And that was a decision that was made in 2017, of which I had no part of. But it's in the minutes, and I think it's important to you. And also, it's important that the district decreased in size from 50,000 acres to 29,546 acres. So there's 40% less people paying into the district expenses. So I went back through the audited financial statements, which are also contained on the website. In 2017, there was a $359,000 deficit in the budget year that year. That's when this change came about. Subsequent to that, there have been anywhere from 26 to 73 to 100 and some thousand dollars worth of surplus. So I know for those of you that say, where did my money go? It was in the budget. We all have to understand that a budget is just an estimate. And so those funds were not pilfered away by anybody. They were in the budget. They were in the funds of the association, which amounted to $1,200,000 at the end of 2023, or September 30, 2023. Those are the funds that are being used to clean lateral U, lateral park lateral, and the main canal. And those funds, we've committed almost $1.2 million to those three projects. So had those funds not been accumulated, either one wouldn't be able to do the work, or there'd be a special assessment. So go through, you can look at the minutes in their entirety are in the packet that was part of the board packet, but I just want to highlight that to you. And hopefully that will give you a little different understanding. It was certainly an eye-opener for me as well. So with that, I rest.
Thank you. Here's working. That brings us into new business. The first item under new business is discussion of district management. Mr. President, would you like to give an update for us, sir?
Yes, so the board had a special meeting on August 5th last month, and at that meeting we discussed the current state of the management of the district, and ultimately decided to make a change in the management. We've been using special district services since 2019. So yeah, for almost 5 years, and but recent events led me to believe that we need to have more hands-on management. People would complain about calling the district office and not being able to get a quick call back, or showing up at the district office wanting to speak to someone in person and no one was there. So we met and discussed the situation, and made the decision that we would extend an offer to Mark Mathis, who had indicated to me that he was resigning from the city as city manager, and I felt that Mark has a vast knowledge of the local area and what the needs are, and knows the people pretty well, as well obviously as having a very close cooperative relationship with the city. So we met and made a decision to make an offer to Mark, which I subsequently did, and Mark agreed to come on board. Started on Monday of this week, so it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose right now. But that is what we did as far as the district management. I want to make a point of saying that I'm involved with other water control districts, some of which are managed by special district services, and I think overall they do very good work. But I just felt that we had some special circumstances here that were very demanding and needed more personal contact and attention. So I want to go ahead and check thank Frank for the good work that he's done for the district the past 5 years, and thank you, Stephanie, as well. So that's where we're at on the district management.
I just asked if you could, Supervisor Nelson, for a motion to accept the employment terms. We discussed a standard operating procedure of the district with 2 minor variances. One was a higher vacation start, getting like 30 years in the professional world. And the other was varying office hours to accommodate different opportunities for the public to come into the office and see me in person. And so I'll be posting some early morning hours as well as some late afternoon, evening hours, so those who can't come during the business hours can come in and share their thoughts and concerns with me in the office. So those are the only 2 variances from standard operating procedures.
Yes, and so because those are a variation from the standard operating procedure, we'll need to approve those as a board.
Are we allowed to know the difference in cost? Is that allowed? Are we allowed to know if you pay one after you pay this? What the difference is? Salary. Salary
difference is the
compared to
salary.
what the other company is getting. Is it a minus or a plus?
It's an increase in the cost to the district. We're scheduled to pay $75,000 a year to special district services. Mark's salary is $100,000. And so that's the difference in the salary payment.
What experience do you have in water control?
Well, Mark, I know from my personal knowledge, was successful in getting a number of grants for the city of Fellsmere where they were able to put in stormwater ponds, retention areas within the city to improve drainage in the city. And obviously, with his number of years as city manager and the planning department, he's dealt with a number of water issues there. And Mark, if there's anything more you want to add,
Does he have any qualifications at all in paper?
Licensed civil engineer for 30 years. I've been designing, managing, constructing, overseeing drainage systems during that entire time.
Okay.
Anything
I'd
else?
like to get a copy of some of that, and I'd like to just draw the attention under your supervision, New York, and 60-inch culverts shoved in 30 inches of mud. That was on me, Mark.
I'm sorry, sir. Could you repeat that? I'm not sure what.
New York, or recall New York.
Yes, sir.
Right? Shoving 60-inch wide culverts in 30 inches of mud without cleaning out the ditch.
The ditch is going to get cleaned out, sir.
Usually you clean it out before you put a culvert in.
We're not allowed to control means and methods of a contractor.
Okay.
Move along.
Okay, well, so
Oh, that's,
do we do a motion? to-
I motion this.
Okay, sorry, second. So all in favor? Aye.
Next item is titled Status of the Water Control Fund Buffer Reserve. You'll recall that I was directed to contact the St. John's River Water Management District and make a formal request of whether or not they actually created a plan and what they did, if any, work based on the plan. I escalated this up to their chief of staff, and as of September 5th, we both email and a phone call with them. They are actively reviewing their records from back in that time period. They had very few staff. Now they're here back then with knowledge of this, but they have pledged and committed to treat this as a public records request and respond with both in writing and phone calls to us once they have that information.
Okay, good. That's definitely an area where we could improve the district, is that we're receiving currently substantial amounts of water from the St. Sebastian Preserve, River Preserve Park. And even though it is a state park and you would think that it would be restored to its natural condition, they continue to drain water to the west into the Fellsmere Water Control District. And we're trying to convince them that it would be more in keeping with the natural state of the land to at least fill in those ditches at the point that they are at the boundary of the current water control district. So we're trying to prevail upon them to do that. We have been working on that for over a year. Sometimes it's a little hard, as Frank is saying, to get responses from the state agency, but we do believe there's some local folks here now who understand the situation, and hopefully we can get that fixed, which would reduce the amount of water coming down through the east side of the district during major storm events that we had back in November.
Is there some kind of time frame?
That's the Carson Platte property.
That's correct.
And as we found out, there were 8 sublaterals that were supposed to block, and my understanding is that that's not been done by the state. Correct. So that's, yeah. So part of the agreement was they were to be blocked, so that drainage didn't come through part of the lateral. So that's what I think, just give a little more substance to the crowd.
It's still coming through.
I know that's what we're issuing. That's the issue. There's an agreement that they're supposed to do it. They haven't done it, and that's what we're talking
It
about.
fills up another hole, it comes straight out there.
If any of you have any contacts at the Park Service or the local folks, just let them know this is a very important issue to them. It's all a matter of just trying.
Have they agreed in some type of form or contract to dam those up and not drain into our area? Is that the case?
They have agreed verbally at a district meeting, I could say over a year ago. George, you recall, I think, and they wanted to put in leave a 20-inch pipe in each of those ditches. That was my recollection. We felt that was certainly better than leaving them open. Our first desire. But there was a change in management, change in the local park manager position, and it seemed like didn't get transferred, moved through the system.
Testing. This is working. They approached the board to build a fire access route, and they wanted to put pipes in the ditches in order to have it continuous from crossing the sublateral ditches every quarter mile. They wanted to have a pipe. And the board reminded them, made them aware that there was this agreement that they would build, St. John's River Water Management District would build some kind of stormwater management system to reduce the runoff coming off that land. And that maybe this would be an opportunity to accomplish both things. For whatever reason, funding, I think one of the excuses was it would take a year or two of stormwater analysis to decide what the stormwater system should be, and we want to get this road in soon. And eventually, they just went away and never came back. I don't think they built the road, and St. John's never came up with a plan to reduce the drainage.
Just to add what George is saying there, unfortunately, the ownership of that park is 50% with the St. John's River Water Management District and 50% with State Park Service. Right? DEP is State Park Service. So getting both of those agencies to agree to one thing at one time seems to be difficult. Sometimes one is it's on their radar and they pay attention, but the other doesn't provide an answer. So anyway, it makes it more complicated because there's 2 agencies involved to approve it.
Were there any minutes from that meeting that states that they agreed to put in 20-inch culverts instead of leaving them open? Was there anything on record, or was it recorded? Anything that we can take to them? Because I'll take it and I'll say, hey, you guys agreed. What can we do? And I'll start the ball.
I I read a document that said it was in a, maybe it was never executed, but they would close the top 8 top laterals, sub-laterals, was in a written document that I saw when I was going back to the
Yeah.
record, so.
I-
I mean, it's just, whether the building enforce it, I guess, would be the issue.
We can look for that, that's a good idea,
Yeah,
although
anything-
the R minutes and.
If you have anything at all, my name's Karen Ledford, you can give it to me and I'll go straight to the people that I know that might be able to help with that. That'll help the situation in some way.
Appreciate that.
Well, did we just hire more graphics to keep us after that project?
Yeah, certainly it'll be on his list, he just can't speak to it because he wasn't at the meeting that we're referring to. George Simons was there, I was there.
One of the mics is feeding back between. It goes from the speaker to the microphone back and forth. Point the mic downwards.
Thank you.
So that's something for Mark's to-do list.
Yes, definitely.
Mr. Simons, would you like to provide the board with an update on the lateral cleaning and maintenance?
Sure. So last Friday, Frank, Sakuma and I did a monthly pay request inspection for the work completed through the end of August, as each of the contractors submit a pay request for their particular contract.
We still can't hear you.
Hello? Can you- Anyway, we did the inspection. I can tell you that the lateral U canal has been cleared all the way to the main canal. The second phase is dipping out the material, sandbars and so on, out of the main canal. They started at the south end. They're about 2 miles south of the main canal. And it's kind of slow going up there. There's some heavy, mucky material up there. And there's not a lot of room to place it. So they're making a deposit area for it right next to the top of the slope. The last phase, they'll come through and they'll knock down and smooth out the top of bank and make that so it's passable for future maintenance equipment. It's not intended to be a road, so you'll still have your road adjacent to it, but it will be a maintenance access road for that. So that's lateral U. Park lateral, they're tracking along. They haven't done all the mulching to the main canal yet. They're maybe a mile short of that. But again, the same process is they're following behind the clearing with the cleaning. And that's coming along real well. If any of you live around Park Lateral, you must have recognized the change. And it's got to really be beneficial to improving drainage. So they're projected to go maybe another month of digging, clearing and digging, maybe 6 weeks, and then they'll have another 3 or 4 weeks to clean up the top of bank and make it the access road. The main canal, the contractor is working at the bottom with a swamp track out. You can't really see him unless you climb down in the canal and put eyes on him because he is there. They've mulched the north side about 15 feet high, and they're digging the material out and placing it on the slope. They're going to come back and do the south side about 12 or 15 feet up. But they're not going to clean anymore, they're just going to mulch, to open up the cross-section. When the main canal comes up, water wants to flow through that vegetation. They'll be able to flow better now with that vegetation mulched up. So I think they'll fall in about another 6 or 8 weeks to finish up their work. So that's my update.
You want to speak to the fact that we were able to get a change order decrease, so the change in the conditions that's going on? So
Yeah,
save
the
us a little bit of money.
main canal contractor, we negotiated a savings for the district by changing the scope of work, and that mulching of the north bank at the top of the canal and added the south bank of the lower part of the canal. So that resulted in a net increase.
What are they doing with that bottom of the canal? Is it being cleaned?
Pardon?
Now, is it being cleaned?
Yeah, he's cleaning the bottom of the canal.
Oh, they can half feet across that canal. That long stick and not reach halfway across that canal.
The long stick at the top does not reach the bottom of the canal, is correct.
Right, can't reach it. That's why
He's got a machine in the bottom that's cleaning the canal. It's literally sitting on the bottom of the canal. It's got pontoons that are about 6 feet high.
You're saying we're being clean, now we're being clean. That hose cannot reach halfway across that canal to clean the bottom of that canal to get all the blocking that's in there. I just went out there the other day to check the work that was being done. That canal is not being cleaned by anyone.
Did you notice the piece of equipment at the bottom of the...
You're closing the side, making pretty work there, but you're not doing nothing for the canal itself. Where the water runs.
He's talking.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it.
He's telling me right now.
Keep saying you're cleaning our canal, but I've been on the equipment for 4 years.
In the main canal, there is a different piece of equipment. It is sitting in the bottom of the canal.
That long stick cannot do what used to clean them canals and never will be able to clean them canals like they used to be cleaned.
We're not using the long stick to clean the canal. There's a piece of equipment in the canal itself that's cleaning the bottom of the canal.
I think he's
Well,
talking
whenever they
about,
gonna start cleaning?
I think he's talking about part lateral when you're talking
No,
about.
they're talking about the main canal. Yeah, I was out there the other day, fishing off that canal. They got all kinds of blocks still down that canal. That has not been touched by anything.
You can see the highest from the bridge on that top.
That's what I'm saying.
They're not-
Every day these canals are being cleaned, they're being halfway cleaned. They will never be cleaned like they used to be cleaned because the long stick cannot reach either side of that canal. In order to clean Park Lateral like it used to be cleaned, you would have to clean both sides of that canal with a long stick to reach the middle and work both sides. That's the only way that canal will ever be cleaned to maintain the water that it cleaned 46 years ago when I moved into this town.
I'm not arguing with you, sir. The top, the long stick is not clean. Pardon? Park lateral is being cleaned.
It is not clean all the way across, it's clean halfway. According to what y'all posted, both sides of that are supposed to be clean. That ain't happening.
No.
The only way you gonna clean it is both sides. You can't clean the bottom of that canal on one side.
We don't have the right of way to work off the east bank, and we don't have the money to clean and mulch.
So don't you tell her she cleaned. You're not.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question about park lateral ditch two. You're saying you don't have right of way on the east side, then why are we spending $96,000 to put culvert pipe in at ditch two? Why are
We own the sublateral itself and the real estate that the ditch sits on all the way to the park lateral. But as you run north-south along park lateral, we own very little on the east side of the top of that.
Yeah, but that still doesn't explain ditch two at all. It's like an open-end system to park lateral, and you're culverting down there one piece when all the rest of them don't have culverting for $96,000.
And I think that's part of the problem of all this erosion. They need to have pipes.
Not for 100 years. I'll leave you all. Go ahead.
He needs to have our level plan to do.
Next item under new business was an add-on by staff.
Yes,
Carol, roll, please, on the side, correct.
I had a pre-existing condition when I was brought on, so I had a conflict with your normal November meeting date. In addition to that, I'd like to ask if you would consider permanently adjusting your meeting date to a Wednesday instead of a Thursday, and that would be suitable. That would work better for me. It also lines up with the Wednesday being the day I was hoping to have the longer office hours. But if not, we can just deal with November at this point. And the day before the 13th would be fine. I'm sorry, I turned my head. I shouldn't have turned my head. My apologies. If we could at least address the November meeting date, and I'm flexible beyond Thursday. It could be the day before Wednesday, or it could be the following week, whatever your pleasure is.
I don't have a problem with
I'm sorry, did you say Wednesday, the 13th?
Wednesday the 13th would be fine.
That would be fine.
that. I think that's fine, yeah.
If you all could just look in your calendars for long term and see if Wednesdays work for you regularly, that would be all.
What time? What was that for?
It'd be the same right time. Same time, November 13th.
The next board meeting, the next Fellsmere Water Control Board meeting, like this meeting,
Say that one time, say that again, please, great date.
November 13th, 5:30 p.m., this room. That's Wednesday, November 13th.
Thank you.
Would ask for a motion.
I would move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And Mark, I have no problem with Wednesdays going forward. I don't know about Greg, but for Richard, I don't have any problem with
We'll address that in the future meeting.
that. Okay.
yeah, we'll discuss that when Richard's here. I should say that Richard, unfortunately, our third board member had a family situation.
Oh, you lost it. It's not on anymore.
Guess I have to go press the power on and off again.
Yeah, they all died.
Maybe that's the way to tell us our time's up. I don't know.
Are these the same as you've had before?
Yeah, I just
don't know what happened.
I'll make sure I get a contact.
So we'll just resume now. I'm sorry, I was in the middle of just trying to explain the absence of Supervisor Carnell, who had, unfortunately, late in the afternoon, a family situation that required him to miss today's meeting. We're just saying we'll coordinate with him to make sure that these dates work and posted on the district website. I think we're into administrative matters now.
Yes, the district financials are included in the board package. Page 22.
I'll be happy to go first.
Yes, sir.
A couple of things. Just a question on insurance. I know that the policy year runs with our fiscal year. I know from previous discussion with you that you've had the applications in. Do we have a quotation that needs to be accepted, and where are we price-wise compared to the budget?
We have policy returns and potential invoicing, but we've sent those back because we had to have an adjustment to the work comp premium based on the new hire. So as soon as that comes back, we'll bring that back and advise you.
So you're on staff, you're still on board until September 30th? Is that correct?
I'm not an employee, I'm not under work comp.
No, I'm sorry.
Under contract.
Contract continues. The contract continues through the end of the month. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. So you will work with Mark to make sure, I want to make sure we obviously don't miss that date. The other thing on the face of the financials, I believe last month we removed the $300,000 contingency since we know we've spent it, or we've committed it to be spent, and that was to be removed from from the financial. Am I correct?
You will authorize the use of those funds, yes.
Okay. So it seems pointless to have it on there, since we're going to spend it, we know we're not going to have it. So.
Sir, we'll make that text change.
The other question I had on the excavator payment, that's an annual payment. I'm just concerned about cash flow at the end of the year. As we get to September 30th, the tax revenue doesn't start to come in right away, obviously, until the taxes are paid. That's a $70,000 lease payment. Is that in January?
I'll have to go back and look. I believe that is going to hit us in January, that's correct.
And the little cash flow forecast that's there, we obviously don't have any intention of doing the aerial spraying, which we know is a savings. The ditch mowing, I was of the hope that since we saved some money on the change order on the main canal of $37,000, that we could authorize the $20,000 to get started on the ditch mowing for another time, because they're really getting out of control. So I would make a motion under discussion, or for discussion, that we consider that.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it. I think the only reason, there's any hesitation is just, we're not quite out of hurricane season yet, so I'm just a little nervous if we have some storms as to what would be the higher priority in terms of our funding if we had to get some emergency equipment out. I'm all for doing it. I just, maybe we should wait another 45 days before we contract for that.
Okay. Then I withdraw my motion.
Well, we could
approve it. We would approve for after we.
Yeah.
Before we get to our next meeting, November 13th, we're still in hurricane season, but we should have a better idea of what's going on.
But we could ask Mark to go ahead and see if we can contract for mowing service to be effective in November.
Because that'll be outside of our contract year. I get in with them on September 30th.
Yes.
We need to verify pricing before we come into that yet. I think that's all I have. I did want to make the comment that with the change order, $37,000 change order, the total expenditure now is about $1,181,000. Has that number been deleted from the page 26, where it talks about the proposed year-end numbers? That's the main canal.
Yes, sir. Your projected year-to-date is 255,108, which matches with the reduction with the change order.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I have.
Engineering question. We would have to design a project and find out how much land we would need for the temporary construction easement, then approach each landowner individually to negotiate the temporary construction easement, to occupy the land, remove the trees, and do the work. But it's also going to be more time consuming because you can't travel north-south because there's no pipes. You have to back up to Babcock, and then go down the next quarter-mile ditch to get to the next quarter-mile in Park Avenue.
Right, I'm not throwing shade on the work that's being done, or the concept has been discussed and funded already. I'm just worried that they won't carry much fruit if it isn't all done in concert. This doesn't make much sense to me that after a project will be completed, and the other half is left to, I don't know. What do we do to get something in front of people to do that project? Do they not have any
right-of-way belongs to the district. If they want to be good neighbors and clear it, I'm sure the district could work with them on that. But so far, we haven't had any volunteers.
How do we make our voices heard? How do we put pressure on the way to do something? If the right place in district works without one.
The right-of-way doesn't go far enough east, and they have a work area at the top of the slope.
Have to be done inside the canal. You can't reach across at that point.
Well, if you're talking about clearing like you did on the park lateral, you would have to work on the top. And you'd also need a place to.
Years ago, you can try to put, they clean both sides of part lateral. There is no problem to clean part lateral.
Excuse me, we can't hear.
Maybe the neighbors let them work on their land. I don't know.
It was on the west side of Mark Lateral. It started way down to Jack Harris Groves, and it was all the way to Lake Canal. They cleaned both sides of that canal with a little Dixie crane dragger. I know because my brother-in-law did it. This is the thing. My daddy was a supervisor with Dalton Western for many, many years. He told me, he said, son, if you got a job that takes an hour, you put 2 men on it, it could take 30 minutes. You put 3 men on it, it'll never get done. I think that's our problem.
Well, I take objection to that, so.
Well, I can't help it. What do you think we feel like?
Let's work together instead of against each other,
No,
okay?
no, listen, I want to share one more thing. There was a lion in Africa. He woke up one morning feeling really good. He goes up to a monkey. He roars real loud and says, "Monkey, who's king of the jungle?" The monkey just shook. Says, "Why, you are, sir." So the lion says, I'm pretty bad. I'm going to try this out again. Went up to a zebra. Says, "Zebra?" He roared real loud, says, "Who is king of the jungle?" "Why, you are, sir." So he's feeling real good. He goes to the water hole. Here's an elephant getting water. He roars real loud, says, "Elephant, who's king of the jungle?" The elephant looked at him and wrapped his trunk around him and beat him from side to side, sitting down hard on the ground, stars flying around his head. The lion looks at the elephant and says, "You didn't have to get so upset just because you don't know the answer."
We put this job out for public bid. We had it published, notice published, and if anybody had a drag line, for some reason they didn't show up at the bid. So if you know somebody with an active operating,
We're talking about
drag line,
a long time ago.
Are there trees on the back side? I mean, the trees that would have
Drag line goes.
I think he's saying they cleared the trees.
So you're saying this has been in the past, like way back, what is a contractor that has a contract now doing, how can we do it similarly to that? Like, who has that?
Around 2000.
But that's what I mean, if that was done in the past with less resources, less.
Yes, sir.
The contractor now should have more resources to be moving forward in time. Who is the contractor that has that? And how do we make it so that people was asking if it's done with one side of town? Is that something that we can look to?
We can look into it.
If you have pepper trees on that side, you're gonna have pepper trees that did for 6 months. You'll be back this year. That's what they're kind of saying, it's just gonna come like that.
But they also sprayed. They sprayed in the past.
It hasn't straight.
Are they still spraying? Because they used to spray, or I was imagine, I imagine, very long time.
But you have the first thing, the account is telling you stuff on the side.
this one get the contract when they were the lowest bidder?
I'm sorry, whoever got the contract was the lowest bidder. You might be looking at a partial bid and trying to compare it to a complete bid. And of course, if they don't do everything, it's going to be a cheaper bid. We had some partial bids on the main canal. The only one contractor offered up a price to actually clean the bottom. And it's because he has access to this one piece of equipment that
That's
no one
what we
else
need to
has.
know. We see in the website a bid for, what was it, 120-some thousand, and then this bid was 197,000. And it looked like apples to apples. It was, but we need to know that. It didn't say a partial bid. So,
It wasn't apples to apples.
so this was the lowest bidder that you've got out there, correct? And he had the ability to put the Swampo in and get that clean in the main route.
That's correct.
And that's why you went with him.
Yes.
Is it public record what is in that contract and what they're doing, how they're going to do it?
Yeah, I believe everything's in public record.
Where do you find it? On what website?
So I think it's also important, Mark, and I encourage Frank to get photos on the website as we get updates, because that particular piece of equipment that's in the main canal is a really unique piece of equipment. I've never seen one like that before, and I think it's important to the owners that they can see those things. They don't have to go out there and drive 50 miles to see it. So we keep them updated periodically with photos, and nothing tells a story like the picture.
I'd like to thank you, that'd be great.
To address the question on the public records, was that you were saying contract, we've got a request out to the board now, asking for public records back to, I believe, Julie, 2000, year 2000.
No, earlier, we went back 30
So
years.
if we get those contracts, we'll definitely make them available anyway.
I found the contracts, some of the bids, I would put in public records request to the district, and they sent them to me at a time sensitive link. Perhaps you all will post it on your district website instead of having it posted on it.
Frank, is that possible to post the existing contracts on the website?
Absolutely.
Yep, please do that.
Excuse me, I'd also recommend that you post the negotiations and why the decisions were made the way they were. I'm assuming you had some sort of meeting to discuss the bids and why one came in at $49,000 for the main canal versus $290,000 for Kurtz land.
Is that what you were referring to, the 49,000 was for a partial?
That's correct.
Well, that didn't make sense. I mean, think about the relativity of that, 49.
That's why we were asking.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, that
exactly
didn't
why we
make
were
sense.
asking, because it made no sense. If you had
Couldn't have
bid
been.
for 49, why did you go for 290? There was no explanation whatsoever.
I think what Mr. Kurtz is saying, there's just no way you could do that job for $49,000.
I mean, that's totally unrealistic.
That's, we don't know. We have no knowledge. That's why we're just saying if you could.
Well, just use common
contract.
sense and look at the main canal.
Right,
You can
and
do that
let's see,
for
if he
49,000.
could post the contracts online, then we can see in the contract what they're bidding for. That's all.
No problem.
That's all I have, Frank.
Thanks, sir.
Let's go back to our meeting.
Your district attorney, Mr. Johnson, is online. Mr. Johnson, anything for the board today?
No, Frank, I don't have anything specific for the board today.
Thank you, sir. I have no further comments on the management section. At this time, we come into comments from the public. Reminder, if you have a comment card. Comment card, you have a comment card?
No.
I got people lined up over here.
Got it.
You'll have to wait.
Yep, no problem.
All right, John Savage,
How you got first?
you, first one, say your comment card.
Okay, first I want to address the elephant in the room. Would anyone raise their hand if they voted for anyone on this board? And I'd like to do for you to see that first. Then second, I'd like to know, because they just did a newspaper article, that this $1.2 million spent on cleaning this canal was nothing to do with tax money. It was land and right away sold years ago. And conversion, I vote no to. Nobody even knows about any of this stuff. And I'm done. I'll yield to y'all. You can talk. You can talk.
Barry K. Lance.
That's me. I have a couple of
Nobody
questions.
will raise their hand.
Couldn't hear what he said.
I had a couple questions mostly concerning the documentation that you all have and posting the minutes on the board. My first concern though is concerning the resolution where you adopted the 23-24 final budget, where a motion was made by Mr. Tillman and seconded by Mr. Carnell. It was passed unanimously, adopting the resolution to drop the Western annual assessment to $6 per acre from $12.50, and the Eastern assessment was made at $29. Now, you've given us documentation from when there was an assessment in 2017 for making the assessment $12.50, but there's no justification that I can find anywhere for the board to have dropped the Western assessment to $6 per acre. And I'd like, maybe not at this meeting, but I would certainly like to know why that decision was made.
So what minutes are you looking at?
I was looking at the
Nothing in today's
the
package.
the July 13th, 2023 board meeting.
2020.
Yeah.
Here's you, George. Just pull it. Yeah.
My question is relating to the 2023-2024 budget, where the board approved dropping the Western Region assessment to $6 from $12.50. It previously was $12.50, and it was approved based on an assessment of the value of the services being provided in the East and West in 2017 to be $12.50 for the Western region. So there's no justification that I can find anywhere that the Western region should have had their assessment dropped to $6.
I believe they put a clause in there when they raised it to $29 that they maintain their water. I think, Greg will have to answer this because I don't know. But I think they put a clause in back in 2018 when they raised our taxes to $29, that if they manage their water, which is public in the same job, that they can pay a lower rate. And
I don't think that's accurate.
Huh?
I don't think that's accurate.
Well, I'm asking Greg, asking Greg. Yeah, I didn't
I'd like to hear from the board.
Yeah, I didn't even hear, I'm just telling you what I think.
I'd like to hear from them.
Yeah, so the difference between the two was in 2017, there were some very minimal services provided, just some herbicide was provided, herbicide by the district that was applied by the farm. And in 2022-23, it was decided that it was cleaner to not have any services provided from the district to the farm on the west side whatsoever. And the calculation was made by Special District Services that, so it would just be an overhead contribution, and that $6 was the appropriate amount. Since then, everything's gone up in price, and the determination was made that it was $10.73 was reflective of overhead contribution. That's administration, really.
Is that documented anywhere?
How many miles of canal east of Lateral View we use for irrigation? How many miles of canal west of Lateral View is used for irrigation? So we don't support the irrigation, right?
The irrigation,
Yeah. Irrigation, as long as you don't water for irrigation, that's what you now for, that's for irrigation.
okay, but there's just no maintenance done whatsoever.
Yeah, so there's irrigation.
Or what they was in previous years.
Yeah.
More of our equipment that was supposed to be in town use was used there than it was in town. I've been here 46 years.
I work on that building. I work
What
on
went
that
on
community.
in town. None of y'all on this board have ever been here to see what was done in this town.
I
It's
do.
always been
You
run
did.
by Sunday. The water's always been maintained by Sunday. Everything in town is always done by Sunday. Y'all never been down here to do anything. Nothing.
The farms has controlled this district since 1919. And the farms is still controlling this district.
Well, I don't have any knowledge of Sunlight doing work in the district outside of the farm. It would just be maintained within the district.
Where is the drainage district drag line? What happened to it? Where'd it go? The drainage district had their own drag line. They usually keep park back and part of Sun Ag Clean. There's guys that worked out there. There's a couple of that I work with and now passed. But they spend more time on the farm than they did in town. And it was being paid by the drainage. Go back and find your record. That's why I'm upset about what's being going on before people get charged more money for something that ain't been cleaned in 37 years. I used to live on Carlisle. I know the man who run the drag line that cleaned both sides of Carlisle. All the trees, all the flowers, all the...
Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker. Excuse me. Excuse me. I totally respect the comments that you're making, but I believe that there's people that have put in comment cards, and I would like us to afford them a chance to speak and ask their questions. So I don't know who's next, but I'm happy to take them the microphone. And Mr. Parker, I know you have more comments, and maybe we can add him to the end of the list if he hasn't had all his questions answered.
Karen Ledford.
Karen.
Yes, ma'am.
Here we are. All right, here we go.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams.
Okay, I think it's safe to say that everybody's here for one reason. And basically, everybody here lives, obviously, east. Okay, we're eastern landowners. And
Me too.
you're out west? Not everybody, you're east. Okay, not everybody.
I'm one of you.
Okay, not everybody, all right? But what everybody's here for is the same exact thing. We had a list of questions that we did give to y'all. We understand that you're not prepared to answer them all tonight. We do want to see what you have to say about the $96,000 for the culvert to nowhere on ditch 2. We do want to find out where the funds went to. We understand that there was, sales for $2 million. We got all that. Okay, great that Park Ladder is being done. Maybe it's being done halfway. Maybe it's being done at a portion. It's being tried, okay, and main canal being done. Everything from there this way drains that way. Everything from Park Lateral east has to come and go out to Park Lateral. Am I correct? That's how it drains.
Yes.
Okay, so those sublaterals that drain out Park Lateral are not draining, as we all know, and we all flooded. Everybody flooded. Some of us lost livestock, some of us had damage, some of us didn't, some of us were lucky, some of us were fortunate. I was fortunate, I was high, it's 3 foot up, so it didn't get to my house. However, I couldn't get out of my house, I couldn't drive down Babcock, I couldn't get downtown, I couldn't go anywhere. Thank God I didn't have an emergency. So what do we do now? How do we fix this in order to get these sublaterals cleared? And cleared so that they drain out the Park Lateral. From what I'm understanding, we don't have any money. We're broke, there's no money, and there's nothing to do for this situation. What can we do and you do in order to make this not happen? responding and saying, what are we gonna do, what are we gonna do? And we're getting nothing. We're getting no response. That's why everybody did band together. There were several of us in this room that got together and said, hey, they're not going to listen until somebody gets together and starts rattling the cage, because it'll just be the status quo. And we'll have another 100-year event, which seems to be, with this crazy weather, coming a lot more often than 100 years. So we have to have a 5-year plan. We've asked for that. You said last time that you bring something to the table this time. We have to have a plan for these sub-levels, and we have to start moving forward, which is what the job of the Fellsmere Water Control District is. Am I correct? So what do we do, sirs? That's why we're here. Let's figure this out and help everybody in this room.
Let me speak to it just a second, because I live here, and let's remember also we got 14 inches of rain in about 6 hours, which is totally unprecedented. Where I realize roads were flooded. What are we doing? I just joined the board in March, but obviously getting the main laterals clean, you have to start at you can't bottleneck it. So that's step one. We have, going into the new budget year, there's, I believe, $160,000 at this point in the budget for sublateral cleaning. And I just asked George too, we need to have a contractor and a plan to do that. We'll grind stuff up, then what we're going to do about water quality. I mean, there's a lot to do to that, but we don't have the money to do it now. But yes, we have to have a plan for when we do have the money.
And this just went out, but I don't need it. So, yes, sir. Okay, so let's have a conversation about that. We have $160,000 that you have, pointed to. Let's clear out the subs. So we now have hired Mark Mathis. Yes, his salary is $100,000, but you're also paying to his retirement fund, and you're having to pay his insurance, I'm sure. And so it's a little bit more than $100,000 now. So now we've taken on another $50,000 deal. I'm not saying that's a bad move. I really think that it's actually, and I don't know you. I don't know you from Adam, except for our interaction at the city council meetings. I think it's a good move, because now we have somebody that we can go to and we can talk to and we can say, hey, Mr. Mathis, this is not happening, okay? Now we have somebody that we can actually sit down with and talk with, which has been completely absent, ever.
Which is also a sign of progress.
Yes, okay? I see that as progress, I do. But I also see that we have no money, and we are cutting the amount that we charge the farm. And we're increasing ours. Where is that money going? Where is it going? Can we have accountability? Can we see where it's going, what we're doing, where we're going with it? Get matching grants, get a pump station. The farm put their own pump station in and built the headwaters, and our money put headwaters out there for them to drop their water into. Honestly, great. I'm all for it. Everybody gets to go fishing now out in the place where they drop their water. Let's do the same for us. What do we have to do to have that happen? For the east side.
Well,
East side.
there are no grants for draining water. We've already investigated that. There may be things for improving water quality, and that's one of the things that I think Mark will bring to the table too.
Okay.
Is some help on that. But
And on that same coming to the table and doing things, are we through with the Vogel group?
pardon me?
Are we through with the Vogel group? Is that not going to be an issue anymore? Are we still trying to get to be a stewardship? And why was that? Why were we spending money on that? And can we use that money that we didn't use on them to the people that were going to throw money in? They still throw money in to clear the subs?
That was $7,000.
Right? It's not working.
It was $7,000 spent to see if the district could convert to a stewardship district, so improvements could be made. Right now, our scope of a 298 district is to maintain the water plan, which the water plan is the original plan of reclamation made back in the 1920s. Okay? So that's the scope of our authority, is to maintain that. If you're a stewardship district, you have the ability under the statute to make improvements to the district. What you were just talking about would be a huge improvement in terms of building a lake, a reservoir, something like that, but that takes money.
Excuse me?
Would you get no maintenance, that's a problem.
Maintenance is an issue, but I would have to say that the flooding would have been the same with 14 inches of rain in November in either case.
Stayed for days.
I mean,
It wouldn't have been as severe. And I do have a question about C-54. Years ago, when they put that in the 60s, Fellsmere was being constantly flooded. I was born and raised here. I've lived here for almost 72 years. I've seen a lot. But I have never. Our problem is we have been blessed too long. We haven't had the heavy rain to really flood us. We've been blessed, and what happens when people are blessed and no trouble? They go to sleep. Come on. It's true. But we were told in the 60s when C-54 went in, how many remember Maple's Hole? Anybody here remember the swimming hole? Boy, I feel old. Used to go swimming jaybird style. You know what that means? And there was a little ditch that ran where C-54 is. There was a flow well at Maple's Hole. I know what's been going on around here. They wanted to put in C-54. Yeah, it's on Brevard County. But still, they came in, took out all of that, said now Fellsmere won't flood anymore. Main Canal can run over into that. We can open the gates up at the other end, and Fellsmere won't flood. Well, we didn't. But I've been told that the culverts that take water from Main Canal and the C-54 have been plugged. They're closed off.
The water level in C-54 is higher than the water level in the main canal 99%, if not 100% of the time of the year. Right now, it's been pulled down because they're doing work at the east end, redoing the
But that's the purpose of the floodgates. They can open and control that.
I don't.
Why did they put the culverts in to start with?
The culverts that exist there now are really intended if Fellsmere ever had a situation, Fellsmere Main Canal, where it was higher than the C-54, they would open those up to allow it to drain there. But I'm telling you that other than the construction they're doing on C-54 right now, that water is always higher, substantially higher. So that is not an alternative for draining Fellsmere.
Nina Nielsen? Nicholson. Sorry.
I'm just wondering, it seems like we're working on the main ditches and it never happens with some laterals anymore. I can't remember the last time we got weed control through there. Are we even doing it anymore?
Yes, there is cleaning. Rob is
spraying?
cleaning. He's cleaning the sublaterals on a daily basis.
What? Where?
In my 3 or 4 days here, talking with Rob in the mornings and afternoons, he indicates that he spends most of the time taking care of fires. He gets a call from somebody of a washout, he takes the machine, fixes the washout. He gets another call for a washout, he goes fix that. Unfortunately, because of the washouts, he doesn't have considerable lengths of time where he can focus just on ditch cleaning. He does do ditch cleaning, but according to him, he spends most of his time chasing down fires.
So you're going spraying ditch cleaning? Is that what you call ditch cleaning?
No, I was referring to the mechanical.
No, excavating.
I was referring
An
to the
excavator
mechanical.
in the ditch.
Oh, no, I'm talking about just spraying for the weeds.
Oh, okay, my bad.
The growth is getting like really crazy in the ditches.
That's what I said earlier. I was asking if we could start mowing, and we just talked about the fact that we want to wait. Proposal was to wait till we
Well,
get
they
a
don't
little.
even mow, they just spray.
I'm trying to explain to you know,
Oh, okay.
that they've done more mowing, just as a resident, not because I've been on the board, but I know they've done more mowing than they have spraying to kill everything on the bank. They used to spray everything. Mow the bank, spray the water. But since I've been here, we didn't do it because we're trying to save the money to get the main canal.
Okay, because
Talked about
now
it.
sometimes getting more and more backed up because of the vegetation, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, that's a matter of opinion. Yeah.
Which one? Which canal is he excavating on?
The sublaterals is where
Which
he's
one?
working.
Name one. Name one that he's working on.
I don't know what he's working on right now, but he does keep a list of.
Again, Rob doesn't spray. Rob only does mechanical cleaning. And I mentioned he spends most of his time putting out fires.
That's not nice.
I'm sorry.
Slade all this year, right? I haven't seen a slade all year. Slade all this year, planted. That's what she's asking. Louis Slade.
That's the match at the very bottom, circle the line.
First, I'm gonna bring you pictures up to you guys to let you know that what we're dealing with. You can pass them down the line. Last time we were here, we live out on Park Lateral in 85th Street. Last time we were here, we discussed you guys cleaning the ditches and putting your debris on the west side of our road. Well, you guys said that it's Inver County's problem, and I've been speaking with them like every week or so. And Martin, you know,
Who's that?
Inver County, Danny.
I don't know him personally.
No. All right, well anyways, you guys have left our road an absolute disaster. You can see in those pictures there what it shows. You guys said, George, said that you were gonna clean that mess up. That is just recent flooding, which you guys have created for our personal driveway. Do you have any plan on cleaning that up?
I just drove down that road.
I knew you were gonna say that. Did you get out and look?
I just drove down the road
Would you drive your truck?
about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, we seen you. We seen you driving down there.
There's piles there that we're gonna work with the county to have that good dirt moved to some washouts
When's your ETA on that?
Monday.
Yes, I actually, I'm sorry, I don't like the voice in the back, sorry. The county is providing, at the request of the district, 2 dump trucks to start moving some of the dirt from the park lateral clean out into different areas. So we are providing, and they have asked, and we are working in conjunction to get some of that resolved for you. So you should start seeing some action on that first of the week.
They're gonna remove the dirt, what about all the debris? On the north side of that road, you guys made that road nice and pretty. Why? Because there's houses over there. The other side, you guys left a mess. Why? Because you don't see any houses. When you guys entered that property, it was nice. We maintained it. Derek Thompson and us. Okay, we maintained that road. You guys came in and you totally destroyed that property. You killed animals, you left trash, or your subcontractors did. So what's your plan on cleaning up our road to get to our residents?
Park lateral right-of-way belongs to the district, and we're using that right-of-way to maintain the canal.
Okay, so what's your plan on cleaning it up?
He's
On the
got,
pictures, we can see where we have to drive and where your right of way is. So what's the plan? I have to drive my car down there. Right now I can't.
they're not finished now.
Yeah, it's still work in progress.
So they're working backwards?
No, they're working in phases. First they mulch, clear everything, then they dip out the canal. And the third one is they come and clean up the spoil on top of the canal that they just left. Right now it's drying out. And it's part of the plan to come in there and grade it out.
When do you think it's going to dry out by? When it's hurt? Do you have an answer? No? Because I don't like driving past
doubt that the county will touch that with a grader.
I don't know if can you hear me? Okay. We're gonna get the dirt moved in conjunction with the contractor to the different low spots in other areas. It will probably take us a bit to get the grader out there because just their normal cycle is kind of a 21-day cycle, and I'll be honest with you, we have some of the same issues they do as far as equipment and operators. So I kind of have to pull them from somewhere else to bring them out there. But we're not going to leave giant hills for you to have to like traverse around. But at the same time, we're going to try to get the dirt moved where it needs to be so it's staged to then go back on the roads. That's the goal. Honestly, Katina, I cannot give you a specific time frame because I know that's the next question, when, but I can get with Road and Bridge and see what the time frame is on our end, which is not something that they necessarily control. So
Yeah,
I got your contact, and I'll get you the information I have.
He reaches out to
Okay.
me. He says that, the job that you guys have done is pure. I mean, the work that's out there, the trash that you guys have done. George, you said you drove out there, and whenever you come to the end of the road, you should see the trash that your contractors left on my road. Maybe you should take a ride up there tomorrow and see, clean it up. Be nice.
I just want to be clear, we're not a property owners association. We have one goal, and that is to try to keep the water flowing. We're working on
You're
these.
causing me problems by blocking the water. You have to solve another problem. You are literally causing more of a problem than what you're doing. You cleaned out the ditches, you did a great job, you're impressed. But now you cause another problem for homeowners that live on that.
Okay, but it's still work in progress, and the contractor had to do the work in this contract period. It's a rainy time. It's very difficult to get out there and get that right. It's going to have to dry out some. I agree with what the engineer is saying before you really get to be able to place that dirt in how you want to. But I think it's unfair to criticize them when they're in the middle of the job. It's not finished.
Well, then how many of our not clean up their trash, please? Because we take care of that road, we pick up people's trash daily, but where their machines and equipment was, they have oil containers for their skid steers, they have beer bottles, they have Pepsi cans, they have food containers. You'll see it. Drive down there and see and clean it up, please. I live down there, I don't like to see that.
But we'll pass that on to the contractor.
Mark, Becky.
Thank you. Several questions. I know several other people have brought up this work that was done on ditch 2 coming into Park Lab. And it's a really nice culvert down here. Really, really beautiful job that they did. But we just, when we go down there, we kind of notice that there's no public road there. There's no public property. It looks like it was put in on private property. And we're trying to figure out why we needed such a Cadillac culvert at the end of the ditch on private property. A lot of us are wondering. We're also wondering why a project like that costs $96,500 was not advertised for bids. I looked through all these minutes of all these meetings trying to find out how that work was authorized. And the only thing that I can see is that the board asked Mr. Simons to get bids. It was never advertised. There was no RFP. I'm trying to understand why with an almost $100,000 project, even though it might be legal, that just doesn't seem like good stewardship to me. When we've got such a limited amount of money to spend on maintaining our sublaterals, and we throw almost $100,000 at one culvert without even getting a request for proposal. So I'd like to have that addressed. Also, I looked through all these minutes, and I saw in the engineer's report that he noted that he was authorized by the board to enter into an agreement with the contractor. I don't see that in the minutes. I don't see where the board authorized the engineer to enter into negotiations and sign a contract. Why isn't this being done in a public meeting? Or why aren't you at least advertising for bids and making this more transparent? Along those same lines, last fall, there was some work done on 99th Street. It wasn't quite as big of a project. It was only, I think, something like $27,000. In the minutes of the meeting, there was a very obscure description from a contractor about the work that they were going to do to fix it. And what was in the minutes of the meeting said that they were going to be replacing a culvert. What was actually reported after the work was done was that that contractor was paid to clean and reshape the canal. That doesn't sound like replacing a culvert, so I'm not sure where the disconnect is there, but we would like to find out.
And where's that at? Where's that at? Because we don't know, I know today to find that hole.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, I didn't find it today.
It's, George, I think it's 99.
99 was what I recall.
It was, the tractor service.
Kate's tractors.
Yes.
What was it for?
What was actually done?
$26,700, I think.
What was done?
There was a problem with water flowing out of that ditch. One of the problems was the collapsed pipe, and we finally got it dug out, and it's finally been replaced. But the next thing to do was to clean the ditch, because I think it's been sprayed a bunch of times, but it's never been cleaned because there's not room to work up there. There's just barely room to drive a car or a truck. So we hired, the district board hired this contractor, and they worked with dump trucks. They brought in dump trucks and they hauled material off because there wasn't any place to put it. And that gets real expensive when you do it that way. But the board decided to try to fix this one spot.
Where's that culvert at, is what I'm asking you about. Was there a culvert put in the?
Yeah, it's a private culvert. It was put in recently. I think it's been in there maybe 3-4 months now.
Was that done at the landowner's expense or the district's?
The landowner had to pay for that.
The first
Okay.
question was
Then-
contract after the storm damage.
Right, it was severely eroded over there, and there was, I think Frank Sakuma and I went out there and looked at it, and I drew up a sign and called up some contractors for bids. It wasn't put in the paper, but I tried to get bids, and I think we got 2 or 3 bids. Lucas got the project, and they built it.
Well,
There were 3 bids, I know that.
there were 3 bids. Mr. Sakuma sent me the bids, and that's great, but how do we know that that was going to be the best contractor without putting it out there for the public? It's almost $100,000. It's a lot of money. I mean, doesn't that seem like something that should be advertised?
It's sort of an emergency situation.
We didn't have a culvert in there before, correct?
So did you see it before it was repaired?
Well, we got some aerial photos from before it was repaired, but there was no culvert, was there?
No.
Okay, but we needed a culvert afterwards.
Yeah, it's a policy now to put culverts in at the end of the sublaterals. We try to get it put in by developers as they develop.
Every sublateral is going to get a culvert at the end?
It should.
And is the district going to pay for that when it's on private land?
It's not private land if it's a sublateral.
Well, okay, the land adjoining it is private land. There's no public roadway. So it's only really benefiting the adjoining property owners.
It's an erosion control feature, putting in a pipe.
Well, I wonder how we're going to pay for that with every one of those ditches draining into Park Ladder like that. Because if they're going to be $100,000 a pop, I don't see how we're going to do that. But anyway, it's a question. I'm not asking you to answer that right now. I'm just bringing it up for us all.
I just want to say, my recollection, and I wasn't out there, but when it was presented to the board, it was an issue of there was erosion occurring on Park Lateral, and there was sloughing going into the canal, and there was a concern that we had to address that situation to make sure that we didn't create a blockage in the canal. That's what happened.
It was a gaping hole and material is moving into the park lateral. But part of the issue now is to get that material out and hopefully keep it out. And you can do a better job keeping it out if you put in culverts. I agree, 100 grand a pop, it's gonna be a big number to get them all done. But you start somewhere and do it.
From the aerial photo, it looked like the erosion was starting from the private property, joining the ditch, running into the ditch. Does that seem accurate?
Structure site. It was a structure site.
I would say that it was on private property where it eroded, because the canal right away is only about 40 feet, and it was probably 80 feet across.
So that seems like if a private property owner causes a damage like that to the district's drainage, that maybe they ought to be responsible for fixing that.
I'd say the rainstorm caused the problem. You think the landowner knocked that dirt down?
Some change that they did with their land use might have had something to do with it, perhaps.
I think it would be a good idea to ask in the future if they'll chip in, but I mean, again, that was related back to damage done in November, and 14 inches of rain in November.
Okay, well, my main question is why isn't this being put out on an RFP? And, I think we could do a better job with that. Then, regarding the contract with Mr. Mathis, I'm sure having him on board is going to be a big help for the district because we'll have somebody locally. Mr. Sakuma has been terrific to deal with. I want to publicly thank him for responding to any requests that I've made. He's been very helpful. But in the newspaper article, it said that the district has been negotiating with him for several months before they entered into the contract. Again, I went through all these meeting minutes and I can't see a single thing in there about the board negotiating with Mr. Mathis. So my first question is that true that the board was negotiating with him for several months before this happened?
No, that would not be correct that the board was. I had a private conversation myself with Mr. Mathis when he informed me that he was going to be leaving that
Just you
area. But that was just me. No, there was no board discussions.
I see. Okay, thank you. I guess Karen already addressed the situation about a 5-year plan, but the reason that we're upset about there not being a 5-year plan is because to us, it looks like there's no methodical way to assess what's going on within all these drainages in the district. Like you said before, if our employee is just running around putting out fires, we don't see where there's an overall scheme to find out where the choke points are. Find out where the worst problems are that we can direct him to go out and work on. And without that, we're going to continue to have the same thing that we've had for the past decades, is just putting out fires. We would like to see a 5-year plan. We'd like to see a strategic way to address what's going on here so that the worst problems get addressed first. I used to
Can
work
I just
for a guy-
speak to that for just a second? Because I think that's one of the reasons we have Mark, is we need that. We need somebody that's on the ground, accountable. Frank's contract, they had no responsibility for operation. This is in the contract. You can read it. This is going to make them more responsible. This is another step. Maybe not as fast as everybody would like to go, but it's a process. And I think this is going to be, because I think Mark will be able to say, Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry, but we're busy today, but we'll put it on the list and we'll get it next Monday or Tuesday. As opposed to, Rob doesn't want to have a confrontation. I don't blame him. I've spoken with him personally. It's not his job to have to confront an angry homeowner who has their own opinion of what's an emergency personnel. So I think that's in the plan. So, and with that, we are going to come up with a plan on how to get these laterals clean, specs, who's going to be the contractor, how we're going to bid it out. Those things are all.
Okay, well, thank you. And we hope that that's the case. We'd love to see that happen.
It has to happen. It has to happen.
Taken care of. I used to work for a guy who had a saying, none of us is as smart as all of us. You got a whole room full of people here who are observing what's going on with the ditches in their neighborhood. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to point out things that we see that are going on. I've got a list, just from the places that I would be able to observe. I'm pretty sure a lot of people here would be willing to do that. So we'd love to work with you on that. The last thing I have is, Mr. Nelson, I'd just like to respond to a comment that you made about this consultant that the district entered into a contract with. to try to get the district converted to a stewardship district?
Yes.
You mentioned it was $7,000, you know, and that really wouldn't go very far, but actually the contract with them was $70,000. You only spent $7,800 because apparently it got blown out of the water at the local level, but the district was prepared to spend $70,000 on a lobbyist to get this work done. And I think Karen's question had to do with, since that money had been allocated and not spent, maybe it could have gone to maintaining something else. Thank you.
The money was not. Well, let me clarify, so that money was not spent. It is being spent right now for maintenance. I mean, that's exactly where it went, for maintenance.
When it looks to me like when the district sees a project that they want to spend money on, it doesn't have to be in the budget. You just go ahead and spend the money. That money for the consultant wasn't in the annual budget before that happened. But all of a sudden, the board decided that this is what they wanted to do, so they spent the money. Back in the minutes from 2017 and the minutes from 2018, in the treasurer's report, he made the note that we should really look at doing this stewardship district again. The last time we did it, it cost $110,000. And so already back then, people were chomping at the bit to spend more money on getting this district converted to a stewardship district. We now have Mr. Mathis on board. It's terrific. But that money wasn't in the budget 2 months ago. And now it's going to have to come from someplace. And so there's all these little things, all these, not little ankle biters, these are big honking German shepherds biting us. And that could go to ditch maintenance. So that's all we're asking.
Also, there was $24,000 in the budget for engineering and spent $150,000 because of the storm.
Yeah.
So but a budget is an estimate. It's a guidance, but things have to change. It's a fluid thing. I didn't have anything to do with any of those things you've spoken of, but I've been in business for 50 years, and it's just an estimate. We had to respond with the engineer because we had a situation. Some things you don't get to pick and choose.
Tanya and Zach Lady.
Hey there, forgive me, I'll take that. I can probably.
I mean, your voice is very loud.
All right, we live at 14895, well, we don't live there, but we're gonna build a house there. We've got a farm, and we're west of Park Island. We've got neighbors, Jeff right there. And we have a really young farm, crops are really young, and we almost lost it, right? And it's put a lot of money in it. I'm curious, forgive my naivete, I don't know, who takes care of those ditches back there, west of 146th, on 107th Street? I can't get an answer, I don't know. I'll go out there and I'll clean it. But that thing, it just sits, the water just sits there, doesn't do anything. So I'm just curious if you guys have an answer. Who do I talk to about getting that cleaned up? You. What can I do?
That's part of the sub-lateral, so we're all talking about.
Yeah, okay, well, I mean, I'm hearing everybody talk about east
It's
side.
the same. It's all the same.
Okay.
And it's part of the same problem that we all are, everybody's feeling pain. And you more than us then, because you've got a new farm that's going to be, ruined if that happens.
I'm not trying to.
But they're not going anywhere, the water's not going anywhere, and it's got further to go, not from yours down, I used to live out there, but it's got to drain to you from our end, so it's got to go from.
So that's the direction it's going.
And it's coming out that way.
East to west.
East to west on everything.
East to west, okay. All right, good. That answers my question. And then just, I'll keep this short. To fix this feedback problem, all you gotta do is get up on this stage and get the microphones behind the speaker. Because the speaker is feeding back into the microphones. And I see one over there, I don't know if that thing's turned on, but that might be the culprit too. Okay, cool.
Thank you, Zach.
Christine Hall.
Just a few things that I want to point out. For the purposes of this room, I think everybody's familiar with their ditch. Okay. So everybody's familiar with their ditch. I'm familiar with ditch 1. It hasn't been touched in over a year. But you have this big screen back here. You might want to think about putting your district that you're, managing so that we understand, you know, what you're doing, where you're doing it. You know, we hear you talking, but some of us don't know where those things are. Our ditch, the last time it was sprayed was in August of 2023. After that, ditch 1 was mowed only on the south side of the ditch, not everything that was growing in the bottom of the ditch, and just along the edge of the road. So somebody showed face to say, look, we're out here doing this. What a waste of money. I mean, what good did that do for drainage? I mean, it didn't do any good for drainage. But I'm sure that that bill was hefty if they did every, you know, ditch that was going from east to west. You're already there. Why wouldn't you get the debris down that's in the middle? That's what, you know, keeps the water from flowing. At the end of 122nd, I have sent emails. I tried to call, which of course the people that get hired couldn't get a hold of anybody. Someone did call me back once. I don't know who it was. But there's a gate, like a floodgate, at the end of the ditch. And when we had all that rain, whatever culvert from that gate, that culvert, it's completely collapsed. And I don't know what that canal is. Susan and I were talking about it. She says it's lateral U. I said, no, it's not. It's a smaller canal that ditch 1 dead ends into, and then it runs out to Fellsmere Grade. And I've been trying to get people out there to say, hey, you need to fix this, because if we get one of these floods again, is that going to impede, and then my horse farm is going to get flooded? You know, so it's something that maybe after the meeting I can give you that information.
They don't have any gates, do we?
What's that?
We don't have any gates.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. You say there's a gate
We don't
there?
have a gate.
Yeah, it's like a single metal gate with like some kind of thing on the top
like
of
a
it.
I think it's a road gate, at the end of ditch 1.
Yeah, it's at the end of ditch 1.
And when they're closed, ditch 1's not going to drain. That's an old road, it's dilapidated, the trees are still there. That is a road gate. It's probably closed, and she's not going to drain.
Yeah, so that's an issue with that grove.
Yeah. But I think maybe a map of the district that you're managing for us, the taxpayers, because we're paying for it, I think it would help educate all of us taxpayers of okay, we're going to point out, this is what we're doing with your money. So, you know, just food for thought, you know, that might help.
About PowerPoint instead of a map, PowerPoint would be cheaper.
Something, you know, something where you can help
Understand.
us understand what you're doing.
A couple of meetings ago, we had maps on the wall, you may not have been.
Right. But, I mean, it'd be nice to have it right
agree.
here while we're looking right at you and explaining what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this is on the list. And it's in the office. Where they used to be.
All right, we are into board member comments. Any board member comment?
Well, the only comment I would make, thanks for coming. It's a process. I'm trying to help. I live on the east side, and we're making progress, but it takes a while. I agree, and I understand your frustration.
If you see an impediment, especially a closed culvert or something like that you just pointed out, we do need to know about that, because in a storm event, that could be a real obstacle. So those aren't supposed to be there, unless it was permitted. But I kind of doubt that.
Wasn't there? Didn't you talk about some area up north where there were some private culverts, and then there was one area somebody had raised it?
Yes, it's Florida Atlantic Citrus Property Owners Association. There's about 1,800 acres up in the northwest corner, from Main Canal down to about ditch 8.
Which would cover ditch 1, right?
Yeah. That was developed for a single-purpose property owners association for the purpose of growing citrus. And what's happened is the citrus industry has gone downhill to where they're losing so much money they gave up trying to make money on citrus, and it's been sold to people who want to put houses in there. So they have to get a special modification to the St. John's permit that was issued for the Grove in order to change their land use from citrus to single-family resident. And I'm not sure if anybody who bought a lot up there was ever told that, but that's part of the Property Owners Association deed restrictions. And you may have heard about it one way or another. You may get your annual tax assessment from the POA and wonder what it's for. But it's for them to manage that area as a citrus operation. And there's still a few trying to make a go of it. So if you happen to live on a canal where the citrus owner has put the flashboard risers in the outfall structure so that he can fill up that ditch and use it for irrigation, then the operator of that flashboard riser is going to be the citrus man. And he may not take the boards out when you want them taken out. But that's a property owners association that's separate from Fellsmere Water Control District. And it's going through some serious growing pains too, as less and less people are serious farmers and more people want to live out there as a hobby farm.
How many sublaterals did that come down?
Like 8, I think. There's some private ones that were dug so that they didn't have to put flashboard risers on the district outfalls because those particular ones drained people who weren't in the Property Owners Association, so they couldn't control those. They had to let them go out.
Mark, was there something you wanted to actually say? Okay.
I had one question. What's a direct bill discount on the tax?
It's that the property owner pays directly without going through the county. And the only reason that exists is because that property was owned by the state at one time, and so it wasn't taxable. So it never ended up getting into the tax rolls.
So we're not eligible for that.
Where is that at? Where's that?
That's in the southeast corner. It used to be part of the Jack Berry Grove there, that the Water Management District had owned. Yeah.
So again, we're not eligible for that.
No. I don't think they'll.
District. Thank you.
Mr. President, at 7:14, recommend you adjourn, sir.
So moved. Second. Adjourn. See you in November.
Jonathan, thanks for joining.